Sandy. It's sort of like back in the church.
She don't sit. She can sit outside.
Troublemaker.
Listen, if I wasn't in troublemaker, I wouldn't be here.
This is true. Okay. You got the microphones turned on, Tim? All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's 4 o'clock, and we're calling our meeting to order. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Wendell moved. Do I hear a second? Widener, second. Any discussion? All in favor of the adoption of the agenda, say aye. Aye. Wonderful. Mr. Holloman, would you like to do the invocation?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Ballard Hicks. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for all the people present this afternoon. We ask that you bless council, bless the visitors, and thank you, Lord, for this beautiful weather we're having this time of year, and for the safe 4th of July holiday we had. Lord, we ask that you bless the family of the Eagle Scouts represented here today and their troops. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Oh yeah, please mute your cell phones if you can. Okay, it's my pleasure. We have 3 Eagle Scout proclamations that we're going to give. They have worked on Beech Mountain and helped our mountain a lot, so I'm just going to not read all 3 of them. I'm just going to combine you guys into one proclamation. Whereas Michael Holland, Mercer Ledford, and Charles McCormick have been on the trail to Eagle, earning the ranks of Scout, Tenderfoot, Second Class, First Class, Star, Life, and finally Eagle. Whereas they earned the 13 required merit badges and 8 elective merit badges, served in troop leadership and senior patrol leader for a total of 16 months, where they spent at least 16 hours and more on service projects, not including the many hours spent on their Eagle Scout service project. And in all, they have completed at least 325 requirements each. Michael Holloman constructed the Sled Hill safety fence in September of 2018 to separate participants and observers for a safer sledding experience. Charles constructed an overlook trail bridge and steps in September of 2018 to facilitate hiker safety and provide trail improvements. And Mercer constructed an overlook trail bridge and steps in September of 2018 to facilitate hiker safety and provide trail improvements. The Eagle Project is an opportunity for the Scout to plan, organize, construct, and carry out a project that develops leadership skills necessary for continuing as a productive citizen and a lifetime community volunteer. Be it resolved that Mercer M. Ledford, Michael Holland, and Charles McCormick have preserved the character of Beech Mountain, and in keeping with the time-honored tradition of recognizing and honoring those who have the best interest of Beech Mountain at heart, the town of Beech Mountain does hereby extend its gratitude to all 3 of those young men for service and contributions to this mountain community. Thank you, and congratulations on your Eagle Scout. Now it's a photo op time, which is all of our favorite time. Renee, how do you want to do this? It's up to you.
So we have 3 awards, right?
Yeah, now we're only going to give 2 because Chad didn't be here.
Okay. So why don't we do the 2 individually, and then I'll take one. I'll just get it.
Yeah.
So you want to do that?
Okay. So do you want like 2 on each side and middle? Just grab their proclamations.
Come on up here, guys.
Mercer, this is yours. Michael. yours.
Okay, just turn around. And you want to be in the middle?
Right there.
Yeah.
Works for me.
That's what I'm told. Okay, I like to do what I'm
Put it together,
On Eagle
a
Scout?
little closer.
Are you?
Because what I'm going to do is try to
That's
cover up
impressive.
that stuff, some of that stuff in the background.
It's impressive.
Okay, bodies.
Need to hold that same level.
There you go.
Let an engineer talking.
Can you, both of you guys, can you bring your shoulders in toward the mayor? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Just a little bit closer. Don't be afraid. She's a little.
Maybe.
Okay, so I'm going to count to 3, and when I do, I want you to not try not to blink, and if you want to start as well, okay? 1, 2, 3. This way. Same deal. Count to 3. Try not to blink. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Congratulations.
I'll drop one. Okay. So get a little closer, not too close. I'll work on you. You move over here. Again, I'm going to try to cover up some of that stuff. So scooch on over a little bit more. There you go. Good enough. Okay, same deal. 1, 2, 3. More this way. I'll try to get all you guys in this one.
Oh, really?
Don't pick your nose.
Barry, stop doing that.
Same deal. 3. Try not to blink. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's one. Whoa. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now individually. Sure. So just good coming in the middle there. Okay. 1, 2, 3. One this way. Hang on. One, 2, 3. Okay. You're up. 1, 2, 3. And this way. All right, 1, 2, 3. Job. Awesome.
Thanks, Renee.
All right, thank you.
Thanks again, guys. All righty. Let me get my stuff together. Public comment, Tim?
Public comment? Mayor, we have 3 signed up: Wilson King, Michael Holland, and Terese Barrett.
Okay. Wilson? Y'all know the rules. You get 5 minutes.
Name and address.
Wilson King, 405 Beech Mountain Parkway, right next door. The folks that speak to you in this public comment period are mainly a bunch of malcontents. They want to complain about something, or they want to ask you to do something or not to do something, and I'll readily admit to being part of that crowd from time to time. However, this evening I'm here for a different purpose. It's a historic purpose in that it deals with the situation we faced just about a year ago. A year ago, we were under an insidious threat. It was a threat that was serious enough that it may well have changed the fundamental nature of our mountain. Now, the question is, what's the fundamental nature of our mountain? In case any of you have been asleep the last 18 times I've said this, I'll repeat it. Beech Mountain is a special place. It's safe, it's clean, it's quiet. It's a place that ordinary people can come and forget the horrors of the rest of the world. It's a place they can get up close and personal with nature in a way they just can't do anywhere else. It's special and it needs special attention. Now, a lot of people don't realize that we were under any sort of threat, but that is the nature of insidious, right? It reminds me of one of those horror movies that comes around on a regular basis where there's some existential threat to humanity, to civilization, to the world, and as a last resort, they send out this special team. Tom Cruise is always the leader of the team, by the way. And they say, save us. If you're not successful, don't come back, because there won't be anything to come back to. But lo and behold, they are successful. They save the world, and in the final scene or two, they're all sitting around and they look out over the horizon and see loads and loads of land and people. And one of them says, look at those folks. They're sleeping soundly. They'll never realize how close to Armageddon they came. But we won't get any credit for it. Nobody will even thank us. A year ago, you folks could have folded. You could have fallen for the canard that promised instant prosperity. You could have hidden behind the most insidious word. Well, there's a word again, insidious. You could have hidden behind the most insidious words in the municipal lexicon. Oh, we can't do anything about that. Had you folded then, we may be well on our way now to another Gatlinburg. We could have become a Pigeon Forge or some other low-rent honky-tonk attraction. But you did not fold. You stood up for our people, you stood up for our animals, you stood up for our mountain. And I want to thank you for that effort. I would like to thank you individually and as a group. I did a quick survey of the things that we have gone through since we incorporated our town. And of course, that incorporation, the decision to do that, maybe was the most important thing we've done, because it put the control of our mountain in our hands and not in an outside group. But what you did, I think, will go down as one of the most important things. And again, I thank you. Now, your job is not over with. The threats will continue to come. As long as they're selfish, greedy, inconsiderate, and jealous people, we'll be under threat. We'll be subject to insults, and those insults have to be met with force. One of the things we have to realize is that we're not an industrial city. We are a resort town. Our roads were never intended to be high-speed thoroughfares. We spend as much time recreating on our roads as we do in transportation. We like to walk. We like to walk with our dogs. Some people like to walk with their kids. We like to walk with our families. We like to hike. We like to ride our bicycles. And we don't want to be threatened when we're doing those things. It's up to you folks to help protect us. Because if we feel threatened, we may not come back. I am requesting that you consider reducing the speed limit on our gravel roads to 15 miles an hour. 25 may be safe for our paved roads, as long as people are paying attention, which lots of people aren't. But you're only giving me 4.5 minutes tonight.
You got 18 seconds.
Please consider 15 miles an hour is fast enough for what we have here. We depend on you. We want to be safe.
Thank you, Wilson. Michael Holland, and your name and address for
Michael Holland, 209 North Pinnacle Ridge Road. All right. Whether it's your first time on Beech Mountain or you've been up here for more than 50 years, one thing connects everyone traveling upon our roadways: our unique street signs. The first thing that comes to mind is a welcoming blue sign with the classic Beech Mountain font in white, swinging in the breeze on a 3-part 4x4 post. Some of these frames have only one sign, while others have 5 or 6. Many are decorated with flower gardens underneath or ornaments up on top. A few of the signs even have the traditional mountain logo on display at the top of the sign. The signs are simple in nature, yet been a defining characteristic of the Beech Mountain brand that sets us apart from your average city or town. For those unaware, the town's been experimenting with several different trial street signs on our roads. So far, I have counted at least 4 different styles of street sign currently in use. Most of the new signs are affixed to a single 4x4 post and are positioned at the front or the top of the post. This is a drastic difference of the 3-piece frame from the traditional sign. The new signs are smaller and less noticeable than the traditional sign. Additionally, some of the signs can only be read when traveling in one direction. Where is the sense in this? The most significant problem to me, though, is the change in the style of the signs. The lettering on the signs is typically the same as the old signs, which is a good thing. However, there's a wide array of different font sizes on these new signs. In fact, the signs themselves are even different sizes. The single post support is quite tacky in comparison to the large, noticeable frame design that we currently have. I've honestly driven by and laughed in disbelief at how some of the new signs are so different than other ones right down the road. I'm not sure I see what the problem is with the style of our current red signs. They've been effective and lasted for many years, and all have the same general format that is instantly recognizable as Beech Mt. Instead of changing what we currently have to something drastically different, why not maintain and repair what has always worked? Concentrating on maintenance of our current structures will ensure longevity, all while keeping the same look that residents and visitors alike have enjoyed since the days of Carolina Caribbean. Progress can be achieved without making major changes. However, just because something has changed does not mean that it has progressed. In the case of these new street signs, the change is in fact a regression for our town, as they greatly erode away the character of our mountain. It is of utmost importance that any change to the street signs remains uniform to our traditional sign, which is a large part of our brand image of Beech Mountain. I absolutely believe in progress for the towns is vital for our success going into the future. However, unwarranted and unneeded change is beginning to ruin the charm and character of the Beech Mountain we have come to love. The possible changes to the street sign shows it can take many decades to build a legacy, but only one decision can ruin it all. Thank you all for your time, and I'll have a follow-up email as well.
Thank you. Terese? And once again, your name and address.
I'm Terese Barry. I live at 100 Squirrel. Back in the spring, we had town cleanup. When I was cleaning up, I found an object that was scorched and burnt in a pile of dry leaves. It was a sky lantern. Okay? Now, I was real curious about this. First I thought, what could this be? Well, it's not a UFO, but you all know 37th parallel runs right along the border of Tennessee and Virginia. I can see it from my house. Look it up, the UFO highway. Okay? Y'all who are the entrepreneurs in the room, you're missing the boat. We got more UFOs seen in that spot than anywhere in the Northern Hemisphere. Look it up. Okay, this is not a UFO. This is a sky lantern. Available on Amazon. You can get them for about $1.10 a piece, various colors and sizes. Okay, so I looked it up and found out they're illegal. They're illegal in at least 30 states, many foreign countries. They're dangerous. In 2011, 800 acres in South Carolina gone in a wildfire. 2013, 500 acres in Washington State, wildfire from sky lantern. In 2015, right in Gastonia, boom, a cell phone tower, one sky lantern, knocked it out. And earlier this year in Vermont, $40,000 roof damage from one sky lantern. This past weekend, holiday weekend, I look out, what do I see? I said, wait, is it a UFO? We all go look, nope, it's a sky lantern going by. They're already illegal. I think we need to do something to inform people that they're illegal. Someone in this area is setting them off. They go typically 1 to 5 miles, usually on the shorter end of that. They're advertised as being safe as long as they're upright. I mean, what if they run into your house? They're not going to be upright anymore, right? What happens? Could be a fire. Maybe the property managers could put this in their information for renters. Of course, the renters don't listen. They still leave their garbage out. But maybe we could at least inform people that this is really dangerous. Wilson talked about a threat. What kind of a threat? When it's not rainy, we have sky lanterns in dry leaves. It's a big threat. Could be like, was it Gatlinburg that burned all down? That could be us. And it could be from something as innocent as something for less than $2. And it looks like it might be kind of fun, but pretty dangerous.
Thanks, Therese. We should do something about that.
What is it?
It's a sky lamp. It's a fire in a lantern that
That's
floats
the end of
out.
public comment. It will take about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll leave if they need to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to take just 5 minutes. If the Boy Scouts and New Eagle Scouts want to depart, you are more than welcome to do that. We won't torture you through our meeting. Thanks again for being here, and thanks for what you've done for Beech Mountain.
We're not used to looking at it this way. We keep looking at it. Reminds me of political campaigns about 4 years ago. No, 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I
You're married now, you don't have to do that.
But it's captured. I didn't know, even when she showed it, I have no clue. Shame on your hat. You sue barn people for allowing illegal. They sell the funds by like happy birthday.
What's that? Yeah, I mean, is it illegal in North Carolina?
I'm not aware of liability should be enough.
Absolutely. So if it is, then we just need to let people know that. If it's not, then we need an ordinance. We're going to discuss it and see how the council feels about it, and then we'll go from there. If we want you to do an ordinance, then we'll have a public hearing. 1 minute. What? Who? Yeah, we have a minute. We'll wait. We won't start without him.
I figured that.
We're having trouble with the video.
It's recording, it's just not buffering.
Yeah, but you can't, nobody can see it.
Yeah, so they're not going to start. Are you going to try to restart it? Is it still recording? So it's recording, we're having, so we're not stopping.
Okey-dokey.
It's unmuted. You do it.
Ready? All right, we're going to resume our meeting. We have a public hearing. Do I hear a motion to open the hearing for the Shane Park Rezoning Request continued from the June 11th, 2019 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Barry moved. Wendell second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, would anybody like to speak regarding this rezoning? Okey-dokey. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing? Wendell moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Barry second. Any discussion? All in favor of closing the public hearing? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. We have a consent agenda. On that agenda is the consideration to adopt the council minutes from May 7th, 2019 and June 11th, 2019. And we have a tax release and refund. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Wendell moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Carl second. Any discussion? Say aye. Any discussion? You're doing real well today. All in favor of accepting the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We have new business. We have the Drinking Water Award. So come on down, introduce yourself, and give us the good news.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the City Council. My name is Marty Wilson. I work for the North Carolina Rural Water Association. We are a nonprofit association. We are actually the largest provider of training and technical assistance for water and wastewater utilities in North Carolina. I'm here representing North Carolina Rural Water, and I have my coworker Keith Buff is out here in the hall with his club crushes, so I won't ask him to come in, but we're both here representing Rural Water, and we're here to present a Best Tasting Water Award. We have a conference every year in May in Greensboro, and we invite utilities throughout the state of North Carolina to submit water samples to determine who has the best tasting water in North Carolina. This year, the town of Beech Mountain received the second place award for having the best tasting water in North Carolina. And I have it on good authority that you only lost by 1 point. You were that close.
Wow.
The utility that beat you out was a well water system. So well water systems typically have an advantage over surface water systems like y'all have. This is a really significant honor of all the utilities that submitted samples in the state to be the second in the state. And it doesn't happen by chance. It takes, obviously, very good infrastructure, the water treatment plant, and I know that recently y'all had a big expansion and spent a lot of money, and that is the reason, is so that we'll have good quality, good drinking water, but also water that is safe to drink, meets all the rules and regulations that there are many of. And a lot of times people don't think about it when they turn on the tap and the water comes out. They don't think about what it takes to produce that water, produce safe drinking water, and produce good tasting drinking water. So obviously it takes the infrastructure, but it also takes a staff, an excellent staff that are diligent, that are taking care of the business every day and know their job. are well-trained and are very dedicated to the duties on hand that it takes. So I would like to commend your staff. I think they're here.
And if you're ready to present it, go house, we got front, Mary, back up, yes.
So, no photo opportunity.
Get in the second one, yes.
Once again, congratulations on second place for best tasting bar in North Carolina.
Okay, so I just turned my flash on this time, and I'm gonna see what it looks like. If it looks really bad, I'm gonna turn it off, just give me just a second, okay? So I'll do a little bit of a test photo. It's flash. Just take a look real quick. Oh, no. Okay, let's do it again.
Go ahead and put that on.
Well, flash made everybody go. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, don't blink. One more. 1, 2, 3, don't blink. How about if we get one of you giving it to, just handing over? Yeah, there we go. There you go. Yeah. All right. 1, 2, 3, don't blink. More. 1, 2, 3.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's a great award to get for us.
Hey, Marty, this is the criteria for the contest. I mean, is the water room temperature? Or?
We have a panel of judges that basically, it's a really neat process that they go through. They go through a whole list of samples that are submitted, and they taste each sample, and then they clear the palate. And there's actually a technique they use to determine, if there's the taste of odor of the water. But it is based on how it tastes. It is, it's a judging of the taste.
The room temperature, refrigerated?
It is slightly refrigerated. The samples are cooled prior to the contest, but then once they come out on stage, they're room temperature. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's nice. Okay, we're just going to have a discussion. We talked at the last meeting about doing a town hall. It worked so well last year. We got positive feedback from citizens, and I think the council was glad that we did it. We had 3. We had specific topics. This year, we don't really have specific topics, so we thought we would just leave it open for a general meeting, and people can come and ask questions about what they want. We wanted to talk about a date and time for scheduling. Does anybody have any ideas of what they'd like to do and when they'd like to do it? Anybody? Anybody? How about, we're in July, how about August?
I was saying either August or September. I think we should do these things on Thursday.
Is that what we did last time?
So would you like to do maybe the last Thursday in August, the 29th? Or-
I won't be here.
I was thinking of
That
the
doesn't mean
15th.
you can't do it. I just-
Yeah, no, that's,
The 15th is good. Now, we've got a council meeting on the 13th, so that's 2 nights that week.
I don't know, can people stand seeing us for 2 nights in a week? Anybody, council, you got any preferences?
What time are you talking about?
Well, what did we
We
do
used
last
to do
time?
4 to 6.
4 to 6.
4 to
4 to
6.
6?
That's what we did last
works for me.
4 to 6 on the 15th.
Is that okay with everybody?
But what do we have on the 22nd?
Nothing.
You rather do it the
We could do it.
22nd?
It's good for me too.
You have an issue?
No, if I hear a date that doesn't work, you'll hear from me.
So right now, we've got 4 to 6 on August 22nd.
That's what we got.
All right.
Do we have any topic we want to talk about?
Now, we're just going to open it up to general questions from everybody. Well, maybe we'll have a topic. I was thinking, actually, we can give an update on what had come up last year was the deer stuff, about the wildlife coming in, maybe just talk about that.
Yeah, deer, all that.
And then,
I talked to Preston about doing a comprehensive plan, but we won't be quite ready for that.
Oh, God.
That's kind
That's the
of,
plan.
that's an awful lot to try and cover in a 2-hour period.
So just general, and that's just the general meeting then?
Yeah, I think,
The public can ask us questions.
yeah. And if they, we can put out something, if you want to submit your questions ahead of time, you can do that, or just come in and ask questions, and we'll just have a ongoing discussion.
We have it down, and we get advertised August 22nd from 4 to 6, and we're going to do that in the session.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do you want to do September next year? Or just one?
just one
Just one?
for
Okay.
now. If something comes up in the other one, then I guess we could have another
Okay.
one.
Sound good?
Okay, next on our agenda is the town manager's request to change our council meeting for October. I gotta bring out the old calendar. Changing October 8th to either October 1st or October 7th. Does council have a preference? Does anybody out there have a preference? October.
October 1st is the first Tuesday night of the month, and October 7th is the Monday before work.
Yeah,
I
I can do either one.
I mean, I'd rather keep it on a Tuesday if we do that, just make it the
I would
first.
agree, but I'd rather keep it on Tuesday, just that's the schedule, Bill.
So that would be the 8th.
No, it'd be the first.
The
No,
first.
it's
We
the 8th is
moved
what
it to
is
the
now.
first.
Okay.
It's either the 1st or the 15th.
So it's the first.
The 1st.
Okay.
First.
Still need a
Okay.
motion on that, Mayor, to amend the regular meeting calendar.
Okay, we're just getting it saved. I need this. Okay, do I hear a motion to change the October 8th meeting to October 1st?
So moved.
Wendell moved, do I hear a second?
Second.
Barry second, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The motion carries, and the meeting will be held October 1st at 4 o'clock at council chambers. We have two ordinances that we'd like to discuss. We've got, the first one is changing the speed limit on Clubhouse Road to 15 miles an hour. Do I hear a motion to accept that new ordinance to change the Clubhouse Road to 15 miles an hour?
So moved.
Carl moved, do I hear a second?
Second.
Wendell second. Do we need any discussion?
I've got a question. Did anyone reach out to Brown Barnes or the club board to discuss this?
I think they reached out to us to
Yeah,
ask about
they-
it. They asked for this.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so did the staff that has to work on that road.
Any other discussion? All in favor of changing the speed limit on Clubhouse Road to 15 miles an hour, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion carries. The speed limit will be 15 miles an hour on Clubhouse Road. We also have an ordinance that would change the speed limit to 15 miles an hour on Oz Road, Misty Hollow, Oz Circle, and Emerald Forest Lane. Do I hear a motion to accept the speed limit on those roads?
So moved.
Wendell moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Barry second. Any discussion?
I've got a question.
Okay.
So are there any other gravel roads that may fall in the same category, just so we create consistency, that we just,
You're talking about like what Wilson was talking about?
any roads?
Mayor, we had talked about, in Councilman Avenatti, what happened, we were going to just submit these two tonight, but we had at least one request, like lower Snowbird, so we hope after these two were passed, you're going to have a discussion.
I'm going to have a discussion.
And Chief, we talked about it, about just recommending all gravel roads be 15.
Right.
But come back next month with that ordinance, just make it all gravel roads 15.
Right.
And that may prompt more public comment too.
Okay, so we'll do that afterwards, because it would have to be another ordinance, because the ordinance now just basically says those roads. So now that if we do that for all the roads, then,
This one could go away.
well, not necessarily, because it's not all gravel.
So
So it would be a separate ordinance.
So by statute, all municipal roads are 35 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. By this ordinance, you currently have 5 other roads that have lower speed limits already adopted. This would add to that list. Any other roads that you add could be limited to the lower speed limit. However, in order for Chief Barnett to write citations, those roads have to be posted at each end
Okay.
for whichever roads you change the speed
And
limit.
on the ordinance, would you have to actually list every single gravel road so that it's specific, or do you just have to say gravel road?
For ease of enforcement, it's better to list the name of the road
Okay.
because if they write a speeding ticket and someone wants to contest it, they'll need a copy of the ordinance showing which road has the lower speed limit.
Okay, so we'll do that for next time. You'll come with an ordinance for that next month. Is
Yes,
that-
ma'am, I'll need to get the recommended list from the police department, but yes, I'm happy to prepare something like what you have in front of you.
Okay, so then back to the Oz Road, Misty Hollow, Oz Circle, and Emerald Forest Lane. We've had discussion. All in favor of accepting those, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. That goes with that. Tim, the late coffee?
All right, thank you, Mayor. We have some guests here to talk about today, but I'll just kind of introduce it a little bit. We actually kind of began working on the Lake Coffee a little bit after we started on the what you call work building design. Currently, Lake Coffee has a building with a roof that has some questionability on that. We looked at redoing a totally new building, had some questions about it, it went along the way. We had a meeting back in May where Carl and Barry were attending, and some instruction was given to Jay Johnson and his group. And I'll turn it over to Jay now and let him tell you what they've done and Chris Burton at this point.
Thank you. I'm Jay Johnston with Drive Now. This is Chris Burton with Fisher Architects. Back toward the end of last year, we got under contract with the town to begin doing a site plan and a building plan for what we call the municipal storage building. That's generic title. And by May, we had developed a preliminary plan and for the site and for the building based on input from staff, and developed a budget for it and presented those preliminary drawings. Shortly after that, Mr. Holland called and asked if he come talk to a couple of the council members, Mr. Markart and Mr. Kaufman, and there was concern about budget and scope, and we talked through some of the ideas. So on page 35 or so of your agenda packet is a technical memo from Michael Holland. And the first little group of numbers here in the middle of the page provides a budget estimate for the building as initially scoped and presented in preliminary design. So just under $800,000 for that building, which consisted of a two-story building, 2 sets of stairs, an elevator, storage in the basement, a little bit of office space for Parks and Rec people, a bathroom for them. On the exterior of through an exterior entrance on the ground level was public restrooms. In the upstairs, there was some police evidence storage space, some general storage space, and a kitchen area to facilitate certain types of meetings. That's my characterization. So when we met with Mr. Kaufman and Markart, we talked about some ideas to reduce the budget, and on about page 38 or so in your agenda packet, that's going to be page 3 of Fisher Architects' letter. And you see there in the second paragraph, we revised the budget, removing the kitchen, the bathroom for staff on the ground floor, and some of the concrete block walls in the ground floor. We just simplified the building somewhat. So back to my memo, the little budget estimate towards the bottom of the page reflects the removal of those items. So we got it down about $35,000 to $764,000. So Mr. Holland asked us to be present today to talk about this, open the floor to questions, and to see what the general council is, and find a direction, a new direction, what happens. So I'm available, and so is Chrissy for questions.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
I'm not comfortable spending that kind of money right now. I'm just not. It seems like it has grown so big and so expensive, no offense, to what was initially proposed. And I'm just getting heart palpitations thinking about it. That's a lot of money to spend on that building at this time. We've got the Public Works building going on. I was just supposed to, instead of putting a new roof on it, we were just going to build a new building. And, I think the lowest bid we got was $650,000.
Well, one thing on that, I can understand councils on that, so my recommendation, staff recommendation, is just basically put it on hold, finish the public.
I mean, that's my feeling. These guys can talk about what they think.
We do have about roughly 15 to 17,000 finished design. We finished that, set it on the shelf. I would probably go ahead and finish that, so we set it on the shelf, and in 3 years, we revise it. Because I do think whatever building you go with, if you have bathrooms and storage, it's still going to be 500,000 plus. But I think we just set it on the shelf for now, a staff's recommendation, finish what we're at, and just let it there until something comes along, possibly a grant application or something like that in the future.
So how much more dollars need to be spent in order to get to that level you just referenced?
About 17,000. About.
We need to spend an additional 17,000?
Yeah, the whole project.
It's, that's what's remaining in the budget of the contract that's to get ourselves, right now we're at preliminary plans. And we've submitted them to town for review. So to carry those to finished drawings, finish out the contract.
Just to give you an example, if we would stop now and not finish out, and let's say 2 years from now, this becomes a burning issue, and we didn't finish out the plans, there's probably another $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in new plans. Whereas if you finish the set, it may be $5,000 to $10,000 to revise it, but you'll have it completely set. So that's the
And we
dollar.
wouldn't have to start from square.
You wouldn't have to start from square one.
I think we're going to put the project on hold. We just need to do it in its entirety. Just my opinion, 2 years down the road, we're still going to have infrastructure issues that we need to address, along with the possibility of paving Buckeye, the back road, and $17,000 is a lot of money. It doesn't need to be spent.
I'm sorry, I thought you were going
Go ahead.
to. After sitting in the meeting, I'll have to respectfully disagree. We have already spent a significant amount of money allowing them to finish the plan, to put us in a position when it does come up, whether it's 2 years, 4, to greatly reduce the cost to then have buildable drawings. I mean, by trying to say you're saving the 17.5, we're walking away from the money we've already put in, which is about the same amount, correct?
No, more than that. The whole thing was almost 60,000, not 58, so you walk away from about $40,000.
So it'd be, and then who knows where costs will go at that time, as opposed to finishing the project, putting the drawings on the shelf, and then I'm sure there'll be revisions at that time. But it seems to make a lot more sense to do it that way than to, not get anything for what we've paid for, other than, a very detailed, something to help us make a decision that we're not ready to do it now.
Yeah,
It seems more fiscally prudent to have the finished plans on the shelf with the amount of money we've already spent.
Eric?
Well, the question is, are we ever going to build this type of building? So if we're going to spend $17,000 or $18,000 on a building, we'll probably never build it,
Well, I don't
unless
know.
I die in
The only
between.
thing
but,
we can cut out right now is the deck and the kitchen. You still want the bathroom. Now, unless we cut out the bathrooms, but I've heard from the Recreation Committee before they want some kind of accessible bathroom somewhere on the property, you still have to have shelves. So I think, the building is gonna come back up at some point, but maybe without the extra amenities of the kitchen and stuff.
Is it the same footprint as the existing building, or
It's the
was?
same footprint, it's just 2 stories.
Do you mean the old building? No.
Is it larger?
The new building is across that gravel
Correct.
driveway.
It's on the other
Utilizes
side.
part of the corner of the gravel parking area.
I think she meant the same size, roughly.
I kind of meant both, the
You
same
might have
size,
meant
but why aren't we just tearing down the old building and building it on the same place?
It's kind of problematic, that's old, I think it's an old water plant, has all kinds of concrete in there. It really would be easier to do a new building and tear that down than to tear.
And it's under current use.
Yeah.
So the new building would serve the purpose of moving uses that are happening in the current building into that.
Well, I understand we've already got the money invested, but unless for some strange reason that some town council is going to spend $700,000 on this building, I'd be very surprised.
I agree.
I mean, with all the other infrastructure we have to do right now, that 700 grand can go and make a lot of water pipes stop leaking. So, as far as I'm concerned, we've already thrown the 50 grand in, that's money gone. I don't really want to throw in another 18.
I'll second that.
I will say, we intend or hope to offend, but the 17 grand that's left in the contract, approximately half of that is getting ready to arrive in an invoice. Because it's active work,
So you've already done the work.
You just have to bill for it.
just out
The road was on about 8 or 9,000.
That just strengthens,
You're right.
that just strengthens the position I've already stated, that we should complete the work and have the
I
plan.
mean, for $7,500 or $8,000 that's remaining,
Yeah,
at this point, it doesn't matter.
well, it matters, but I think it's the more fiscally prudent thing to do.
It will allow a future council to make.
Well, I mean, eventually, we want to remove the porta potties at Lake Coffee and have public restrooms, at the trailheads and the others. So it's a project that grew in scope for whatever reasons. It can be reduced in scope, but we'll still be able to use a majority of what we've invested in here. I don't think trying to save $7,500 is the right call here, to not have the plans on the shelf.
So you made a comment a moment ago, not to offend us and not to offend you when I say this. So we were discussing this for, 5 or 6 minutes, however long, about the 17.5, and then you inject the part of the invoice that will be paid here shortly. That probably should come up initially in the conversation. What's the invoice that the town's going to get hit for? What services were rendered?
the continuation of this contract.
Which consisted of
Finishing up our site plan, developing budget estimates, the scope that's in the contract.
So how much money did the town allocate for this project?
58.
58, where are we now?
Like I said, we're
About
about
50.
75, so we're down to about half of that, so 8 or 9. If you got invoice on the way, we're doing.
And Mr. Holland asked me to check on that when I arrived here. So I was checking on it over the phone. This is not a very granular look at it. I'm estimating. The 75 is about what's left in the contract. What's coming in an invoice, I haven't looked at this month's invoice details.
So a little over 50% is coming up front right now.
And I think on that, some of that, they may be a little bit for bid documents that may not come at this time, so that may be a little bit less than
There's
that.
part of it that there is a scope item where there's bidding and construction oversight. We don't do that.
That is all, so.
I mean, whether it's, we're gonna say 7,500 by not moving forward, or 105 grand, I don't see any council in the next 10 years that are gonna spend $700,000 on a facility. And I still support, what Barry said. I don't know if his opinion is still the same, but, $7,500 is a lot of money. We can utilize that money elsewhere in our, wherever. I mean, the money could be better spent somewhere else. I think we ought to stop where we are. I mean, $700,000, that's a lot of money to spend on a facility.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Now, one thing we haven't figured out yet, so those are that, it'll be more or less, you wait 2
Yeah, you
years.
don't know.
You wait 2 years, economy slows down a little bit.
It don't matter anyway, we ain't bidding it out, so it doesn't matter.
Well, no.
At this point, it don't
Another
matter.
thing that's not happened is any attempt to really scale back scope and value engineer it to a significant
Well, all we want is bathrooms.
So on the drive over, we batted around some ideas that just from experience, will save money. So a 2-story building costs more than a 1-story building. First story's beefed up to support the second story. You've got 2 sets of stairs in this building and an elevator. Just a simple reduction in scope to 1 story would be a fairly quick $150,000 saved on the scope. You could put the 1-story building on the same footprint as the existing building after you demolish it. You could build a 1-story bathroom facility in approximately the footprint that we're talking about, this proposed new building. Bid them together. So you have one mobilization.
So let's say the project costs $400,000, and let's just hypothetical. That $400,000 can be spent, you said reducing it by $150,000. So, okay, so we're down.
Just off the cuff.
Yeah, so let's say 200, so we're down to 500. I mean, I know a lot of other places on Beech Mountain where we need to spend $500,000. That's,
Yeah, I'm not trying to convince you to do it, I'm just saying we haven't taken the step if that interests you at all.
For what you're talking about, with the plans that we're talking about finishing or not finishing, would those be useful in that at some point in the future, or would you be starting over?
You have to start over.
The site plan would remain essentially the same. We take very little to modify if it needs to be modified. The architecture would be, it'd be very, I was going to say sorry.
another thing, 5 to 7 years down the road, there may be a different vision of what to put at that facility or put on that piece of property.
That's a good point.
I think we need to stop where we are.
I agree.
Yep.
Do I hear a motion to stop the plans for the Lake Coffee Building?
Make a motion.
Second.
Widener made the motion, Barry second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say nay.
Nay.
What did you say? You said aye?
Aye.
Okay. There was 3 to stop the plan and 2 to continue. Majority has it to stop the plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, it is your money and your decision. We have been paid for our work. I couldn't ask for any more.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to old business. We have the Shane Park property rezoning. Preston, do you want to come on up?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. You have before you 2 items. Basically, the first item is a zoning text amendment, which would essentially create a new zoning category, which is a public service / camping zoning district. We're asking that you consider that to create a new zoning district. The second item that you have before you is a rezoning of the Shane property to this newly established PS/C zoning district. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay, on page 3, that's the original zoning?
The original zoning is R1.
Okay, so PS-C, that's the new zoning?
Yes, that would be the reason.
Okay, it says accessory buildings, it says private and nonprofit recreation park, playground, and the like, government protective services, public utilities, pumping stations, water sewer plants, storage tank. So we're going to be moving all that into that zoning?
You're referring to table 1 in there, the ones that are marked P in those
Which are permitted.
are permitted, yes. And the ones that are under the R1 category are the ones that are permitted currently. The ones that are on the P list in the PSC column would be the newly permitted uses.
On the left table, you've got uses that are permitted. On the other table, it tells us only at the top, and in each category, it tells you if it's permitted.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Page 3 is the new zoning, and now page 51, that is the change.
What happens is you have on page 1, and press correct me if I'm wrong, you've got public service camping at the top. You go to the left, to accessory buildings, you're allowed for accessory buildings in the public service camping district. You also allow playgrounds in the public service camping district. You allow government protective services in that district. You allow utility stations in the public service camping. You allow banks and other water sewer plants and water storage tanks. Then radio towers are in that district would be a conditional use permit. Tent camping campgrounds is permitted in there. So it's just showing you different things that you can still do inside that district. And that's primarily because we have some of those things in what that district is already.
Yeah, this new district was modeled after the public service district that we already had. I think the only thing we did was we added that tent camping as a permitted use, and then we removed some of the private sector things that wouldn't be appropriate for this district or for this property.
So current time, this property is on for retail, commercial services, sales, restaurants.
No, that's all what you want.
Yeah, no, it's on residential one. So if you look at a chart on page 51 of your agenda packet, is that what you're looking at? No. Yeah, there's a couple of tables in there. The first column there is the R1 zoning district, and if you go down through there, each of those uses are the ones that are permitted that carry that P. If it carries a C, then they are conditional uses. So I think you were talking about restaurants, that sort of thing. They would not be a permitted use in the R1 district, nor would they be in the PS/C district. They are a permitted use in just the standard PS district.
Okay, R1, that's what we're,
That's what it
That's
is
the
now.
current zoning district that it carries now. Rezoning will take it to a
PS/C.
PS/C.
okay, so in R1, the single-family house resident would now not be permitted. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, if you look at that R1 district, the single-family residential is a permitted use now.
It's all conditions.
It would not be a permitted use under the PSC district.
Well, that's what I'm
That's what-
saying.
Yeah. Anything that has the P under the PS-C.
Now, why would we have a resort that says PMR? Beech Mountain Resort, I realize that, but why is that in there?
It is and I'm not sure the history of the zoning map, but it's basically the resort has its own zoning category that has its own uses that are outlined in that table.
Our charter also has some unique language regarding the town's interaction with the resort. That's why it has its own zoning district.
But it's not, and my question is it going to affect what we're doing now?
No, sir, I don't believe that would affect this.
No, it won't affect that at all. It's not.
In other words, they won't have more uses than when they already have now.
No, they're not affected by this change at all.
I have a question about the tent camping. You're just opening it up just to tent camping, there's no specifics on that yet, right? How many, that type of thing for camping? Okay.
No. It's just allowing it as a use in that zoning district. And this would be the only property that carried that zoning district at this time.
I'll just go ahead and throw this out. I'm opposed to making any of these changes. And I'm opposed to, it's kind of like our situation with the facility that we just discussed. There's a lot of time and resources that have been allocated for this. And even though the town has allocated $200,000 for this project, I think that this is going to be a financial burden if we continue to move forward with Shane Park. And there are other areas that we need to focus our funds. Our funds need to be directed to, and it's infrastructure. And we're getting ready to discuss water here shortly, and we still have a serious water issue. I mean, these are dollars that, this is more of a want than it is a need, and it's not necessary. And I think we need to put this project on the very back burner.
I couldn't disagree more. This is apples and avocados. You can't compare the building we just discussed to the Shane Park that we have, by statute, committed ourselves to match that grant for, that a tremendous amount of work is going on. This is simply a request by Parks and Rec to rezone that property to allow for the grander vision. There is no cost to the town in doing this. This simply allows them to move forward with that grander vision.
There's a cost every day that someone is putting their eyes on this project. Every day that someone is fine-tuning this, there's a cost associated to it. It's not necessary.
Madam Mayor, interrupting. We're just talking about rezoning tonight. We're not talking about the Shane Park project, whether or not we
That's
accept
it,
the grant.
and that was the point I was trying to make. This is.
I mean, we'll come back for Councilman Abernathy, what he wants to discuss when we awarded the grant. If y'all have to discuss whether or not to accept the grant, that's the time for that conversation. This is just talking about rezoning. We probably might have campsites even if we don't get the grant. So, I mean, just keep that in mind, just a guidance.
Any other discussion? Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the Shane Park property rezoning?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
as a matter of just procedural order, if council could take a motion on the text amendment first,
Okay.
and then do the rezoning, that'd be the appropriate order.
Okey-dokey. Do I hear a motion to accept the zoning on the text amendment?
So moved.
Barry moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay.
Hold on a second. What the text amendment? Is that not part of the?
There's two different motions. One would be for the rezoning of the park property, and then the zoning of the text amendment.
I'm opposed.
You're opposed?
Yes.
Okay. It's for accepting the zoning for the text amendment and one against. The motion carries. And then we have a motion for the Shane Park property rezoning. Do I hear a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Carl moves. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Wendell second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of the Shane Park property rezoning, say aye. Aye. All against, say nay.
Nay.
It's for the Shane Park property rezoning and one against. The motion carries. Next, we've got Daniel. You're coming up for the water loss report and the water update.
Mayor and Council, I'm here tonight to apologize and explain an error that I made. You have seen this PowerPoint previously, you have seen the update previously. Robert provided that for you while I was out of town, but I provided the data, and I later found an error. Unfortunately, I'm not going to slow things down by going back through what you've already seen, except to go to the final number for 2018, which I was quite ecstatic to pronounce that we were at 31%. In fact, I was wrong. We are at 66%. A little explanation on that is our water and our sewer are effectively a total unit of water. The sewer is billed by the water, so the water is effectively half. The sewer is the other half. And in my error, I accounted for the sewer as well. I approached Mr. Holland, told him what I've done. I'm sorry, I made this mistake. Regardless, the data is what the data is. And I simply want to replay and re-update you all on the current state as reported to the state. I had already reported the 31% to the state after double checking, rechecking, triple checking everything again. In the meantime, we've been correcting the documents to the state as well. And the 66% is the number that we are at this year.
Question is that the number of 2017 correct?
It is.
So where did we lose 14% water loss?
The difference in the water loss in this calculation annually is the difference in the amount of water that we have produced each year. Now, some years we have larger leaks, some years we have fewer leaks. But if last year I produced 120 million gallons for the year, and if this year I produce 140 million gallons for the year, the percentages change based on the actual output of the treatment plant.
Well, if you go through your chart, instead of our numbers becoming better, we're getting worse.
Is it because we're using more water?
It's part of it. That is a portion of it. We use more water. The numbers change. We put more water out there. They change. Some of it is we have deeper winter. We have a more difficult freeze. We have more leaks in a given year. Those things adjust those numbers also. This is, you must understand, this is simply a data representation. In any given year, if we have 7 leaks or if we have 25 leaks, the difference will adjust on this number because this is directly calculated from the volume of water produced. This does not actually take into account the size of our system. Regardless of what we make, we own and operate a 1 million gallon system.
So the more water we produce, the more we're going to lose.
Not necessarily. In practice, that's the way it normally works out. But, without getting into the weeds, if you simplify down to if we have our 5-gallon bucket and it has X size hole in the side of it, regardless of how much water we put into that bucket, the same amount's going to come out of it. Now, we happen to have a large bucket, so, but the percentage changes based on if our number is larger, we sell less, we leak more. If the number is smaller, it adjusts on the calculation for the percentage itself. Now, with that said, in 2018, we had leaks. We have leaks. We have mechanical leakage. We have issues that must be dealt with. But the difference between the numbers that we see through the years, now that we have achieved accounting integrity, we know what we're producing, and we know exactly what we're billing for, and we can trust those numbers through the updated meters. We know that to be the correct amount. Now we can understand what amount is lost occurred in the system.
So in April, you gave us numbers of 31%.
Yes.
And so from 14 up to 17, 55, 47, 55, 52, and then 31%. We were giving you high fives and kudos for
Very
everything
pleased.
you did.
I saw the number that I expected to see.
And thank you for acknowledging the discrepancy. But didn't that, from an accounting standpoint, when you look at such a spread like that, were there enough fixes that you guys did on the system that would have taken it from 52% down to 31%? And if not, would that not been a red flag?
Well, the difference that I was expecting to see was the difference in the 2-inch meter upgrade. That was a guess at how much we were losing or gaining as far as replacing those meters. I had an estimate out there that we would pick up 15% just in lost water that we had not billed for prior to that. So when I looked at 45 to 47%, which is what I believe that we're actually at, my personal opinion, I cannot calculate that, that's just my own deal. But I saw a 15% reduction. I expected to see us somewhere around 35 to 40%.
So
And
when you
we
saw
got to
30
31, I said, hey, we're getting it done. We're doing it well.
So you saw 31 and you went, woohoo, great job.
Yeah.
So what needs to be done to get it down to 45%? You said that you've been replacing meters. Do we need to replace water lines?
Oh, yes, by all means. Water lines, repairing water leaks, and staying with our CIP as presented. We have 17,000 some odd water line that's preparing to be replaced with the SRF project. It's already budgeted, it's already paid for, it's already coming. If you look at the future projection, as Dale Sheepers presented, as was part of the budget cycle, the coming years in the long-range plan, we continue down the list of our most suspect areas we have the most leaks, areas that need replacement for either leakage or fire protection upgrades. They're all on that list that we're simply working down.
So what size are these lines that will be replaced?
We have some 2-inch lines, we have some 4-inch lines.
That where you identify what you feel is the target areas? 2-inch, 4-inch?
The size-wise is different for us. Galvanized lines are a problem, regardless across the mountain. Anything that's galvanized, my goal is we need to get that replaced. We chose this project because it was an older section of the mountain with the galvanized pipe inside of it. Not only that, we had 2-inch lines in that area, which are not feasible for fire use. This was the culminating spot for all of our goals to meet and replace this 17,000 feet of water. And bear in mind, the other half of that project this is also a suspect sewer area that we're replacing as well as a part of that same package. And the fact is we get more for our buck when we replace both in the same area. So we get it further that way.
So when do you expect to start this project?
I think what's our date there? 2020?
We were going to start the water this fall, but where we're trying to bundle the two together, where we don't have to do 2 contracts to 2 different firms, I know the water is at the state waiting on their approval. The sewer will go in the next couple of months. We'll probably get it either late winter or the spring, depending on if we get state approval. Those go sometimes 90 days, sometimes 120 days, depends on how busy they are, what they're doing. A little bit of methodology of why we're replacing what. When we modeled the system, it's been modeled twice now. The first time we did a lot of fire flow. This time we didn't do as much fire flow, we modeled 3 times, like we did water age. But what we're looking for, the older stuff, we're trying to get everything off 2-inch and trying to get everything up to where we can actually get fire flow and have decent piping. This is one of the older sections down. It's open part Charter Hills. It's down off Spring Ranch, Charter Hills, Overbrook. So it's trying to get the older stuff out. It also has the older taps. If y'all go back and look on the website, Rock Studies on there. There's a neat 4-page section on water loss and what it is and what ours constitutes. But that's why we picked that section to get rid of that older stuff that we think is going to be. There are no big signs out there that show we have these big leaks. We have a systematic problem. We have 66 miles of pipe in the ground. Plus, we have another 12,000 feet of service line. The calculations we did, they were fairly conservative. This was been 19 years ago. We were looking at about 0.005 ounce per minute. That's a small number. You calculate that number out, or is it 0.002 O's? I don't have that with me. But it calculates out about 6 to 7 million gallons a year. Loss. That is mechanical loss. That's lost from joints, where pipes go together, swing joints, pipes going in like that. That's the calculated mechanical loss. A new system, if you did duct iron, is 200 a day. That's where the difference comes out. It's about 1.7 million a year. So that's what we're dealing with. I think y'all remember when I gave this presentation, I told you, these numbers are weird. These numbers will change constantly, mainly because of how you build. Did I write her leak up? Did that get recorded? The programming does not let you separately take, if I adjust the bill for somebody who used 100,000 gallons and we adjust it down, that does not get automatically put in there. So it's all manually recorded. Function of that, function of pressure in the system. That's how these numbers change. You know, if it was the simplest counting process, which everybody, EPA thought it would be, is we take our action pump, this many gallons of water, you build this many. The difference is water unaccounted for. It's not lost. Some of it is, some of it's not. But in that deal, is you put all these different variables in, it's just like a problem, algebra problem. You start going multiple variables, it changes that thing into a quantum equation. So that's why, you know, I've seen these numbers go all over the place. When I first came here, we were at 47%. That's 29 years ago.
So when the water lines are replaced, will you see more consistency?
I would hope so. That's our goal.
Yeah, but I, again, understand that any system is inherent to the engineering, the mechanical makeup of the
A lot of
system.
variables to it.
You know, in truth, what this 66% represents this year was about 180,000 gallons. Okay, if you compare that against the fact that we have a 1 million gallon system and we have that much pipe in the ground and we have that many joints, that makes our water loss 18%. Okay, we have a 1 million gallon system. That's not what this calculates for. We didn't sell 1 million gallons a day. We averaged 350 to 400,000 a day. So our loss at 190 compared to the smaller amount, even though that's all we needed, so that's all we made, you see the difference. It's a function of the math calculation itself that makes this look obscene.
It does look obscene.
It does look obscene. I do not like that number. We have seen it better, but we have also seen it better in years where we had high production, where we did have fewer inherent leaks to the system.
So in effect, the loss is consistent, but based on production, the percentage shifts.
That's true. And I can tell you guys this all day long, but the state requests and requires that we report what we sold versus what we made. Okay, so it's always, our percentage in this particular sheet is always going to be a function of how much did we produce and how much of that did we sell.
So they're making it simple when it's not
It
simple.
does make it simple, and in a standard system, when every day you have a standard sized population and you have 750,000 gallons per day flow, you can calculate on that. That makes good sense. But we have a 1 million gallon system, what was it, 2 days ago? We did 725,000 gallons that day. All right, in April, our low day was 51,000. We don't have that consistency here, obviously, which, you know, again, I'm not trying to hide or lighten this number because we still have a serious problem. I brought for you guys, if you want to pass that around,
Tim.
if you wouldn't mind. This was this morning's water leak, just so you can understand a little bit better about a galvanized pipe process.
What are you replacing it with?
We use Municipex. It's a high pressure
polyurethane, polyethylene.
Is that what they
poly-
refer to as PEX?
It's not PEX, it's a different,
It's a better grade.
it's a better, it's a
It's
municipal
like
grade.
for municipalities.
Yeah. It's a thicker version of the pipe.
But it's
We
not,
had went to a product several years ago that was a double layer PVC with aluminum inside of its bonded material. That product, we were still stopped production of it. They didn't have a big enough market for it because there's not a lot of people that want that much pressure. What hinders us is the pressure we put the system under. And everybody sees different pressures wherever you live. Our average pressure is about 260. Now, depending on where you're on that feed zone, depends if you're getting into your house or not. Concrete wastewater plant, it'll go close to 400. Out here in the field, I think probably the highest run scores, we're looking at higher number, it's like 120 or something like that. Yeah, it's just.
So it just changes where you're at.
But where you are, as you go down here, it gets worse. If you get down on West Palm Creek, you're about 240. But what this does is that little piece of pipe they passed around there, set a little hole in it, I increase that pressure on that, then it goes to being a drip to a run.
So what do we need to do? I have just a little bit of data to wrap this up, and we'll step out anyway. We have an estimated 66 miles of pipe, calculated in the feet, that's roughly 350,000 feet of pipe. If we use the same numbers right now that we have on bid, or not bid yet, but in the contract for the current update project that's in play, 1.74 million buys you roughly 17,000 feet. If we call it 2 million for 20,000 feet, that's $1 million for every 10,000 feet.
You're talking dollars, 1.7.
I'm talking dollars. So we have 350,000 feet of pipe at about a cost of $1 million per 10,000 to replace.
And you've
Does
been
that-
working on this.
I was going to say, does that factor what we've already done?
Right.
You're saying 350 remaining?
No, I'm saying that's total.
That was our
Right.
total
Yeah,
after
this
the
is-
Rock. This is what we're facing.
That's what I was
So
saying.
we've accomplished several projects.
You've done many
Yes,
projects.
yes. Yeah, that
And-
number will shrink.
Yeah, and we're doing
As
it.
well as the fact that, not every stick of pipe on the mountain needs replaced. But that figure I wanted to point out simply so that you can understand the scope
It's
and the
expensive.
size. And also to point again the fact that we have a written plan in place. You guys have that plan to systematically work through this into the future.
My question is we talked about this plan over by Charter Hills and stuff for a while, and then we got the loan, and that was all good. It seems like the plans get bogged down at the state. Is that why, because I thought initially we were going to start that this year, but it seems like it's with the state, and anything with the state seems to get bogged down. Is that true?
A little bit of what hurt that plan was initially we were going to pay for it, and the scope of it changed. I actually applied for the Safe Drinking Water Act grants, loans, and when we got the loan, it changed the scope of it a little bit because then you go on their schedule instead of ours, but we also increased it. The original ideals were to do 5,000, maybe 10,000 a year, lineal feet. What that did though is if you try to do that every year, you get these mobilization costs and you're bidding this stuff out and the cost gets so much bigger, instead of just buying that 5,000 foot pipe for $1 million or whatever it ends up being $500,000, you end up spending $750 on it because you're doing engineering costs, you're doing bidding costs, you're doing mobilization,
Right.
cost to buy this. So once we got the grant, we put this project together, made it a little bigger. So it's actually like 4 years worth of project. It's almost 4 years worth of projects that we're putting in one big tub and we'll do under one contract. So we'll be done in about 18, 19 months. Whereas instead of trying to do it every year, it slows it down. But by the time you get to the end of that 5 years, you've done the same amount. You've probably come out a little bit cheaper. Or that's the goal of trying to do it this way. Plus we got it for 2.some%.
Right, yeah, the percentage.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
And if we can do the two together, the original scope when we would alternate projects, we would do sewer, water,
And what we've done is we've kind of took like 6 or 7 projects and we're throwing them into one big bag and do them all at once, hoping that we can get that economy of scale. The projects will work out the same length of time. You know, the state needs to deal with them as you can. They approve plans as they're busy. It's just what they want to do. If the federal government does a huge infrastructure money and there's actually real money out there, it's going to be interesting to see how long it does take to get stuff approved. But the goal is just to try to do it systematically. And I think, and try to keep it reasonable what we can actually pay for. Remember, utilities are an enterprise fund. You can donate money to them, but if you do too much, local government will come in and
It has to support itself.
it has to support itself. So we have to prove that we can pay for those projects out of the rates themselves. So that's where you get in trouble.
Aside from all of that, aside from all the money talk, our efforts are daily to repair leaks. We are constantly receiving calls. We average 3 to 4 water leak repairs per week. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's fewer, but it's fairly rare. Someone always has a problem with the meter. We always find water. That's the remainder.
That's what, I know that someone that lives close to where I live, now they have a leak, it's on their side of the meter. Is
Yes.
that part of the water loss also? or
It is anything,
And that's been
regardless of
leaking
who's
for a
concerned.
really long time, so.
Well, and what we do is, I can't go in and say, I'm not giving you water at this stage.
Right.
We call folks and we say, you have a leak. Then we go and we work with them to determine if it's a town problem or if it's a homeowner's. If it's a town, it goes along my schedule we usually run in about a 2-week rotation. If it's a big leak, by all means, we get on it like today or like 2 in the morning. But if it's on their side and they choose to pay their water bill and let their water leak, unless it's an obscene amount, and I'm talking 10 gallons per minute or something like that, I don't stop them. But they have the right to use their water.
But that's accounted for in the, say, the 66%.
It is. Yeah. If it goes to the meter, it's all accounted for. They pay for it regardless. That's not a loss.
Right, okay.
So to confirm the number again, you said $1.74 million to cover 17,000 feet. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, council? I'm going to open it up to the audience. If you want to ask any questions, please do so.
Just reorient your thinking a little bit. You're too focused on that number because that number really doesn't matter. Because what you really need to be worried about is the water that is available to process. As long as they have water to make potable water, the water loss doesn't matter because the incremental cost of producing that water is negligible. What you need to be concerned about is, it goes back to the Watauga intake.
Having the water there.
As long as they have water to make water that they can sell, you can have a 60% water loss and it will not affect your system. And it really doesn't matter. When it becomes a problem is when you're trying to produce 1 million gallons of water a day and you only have 800,000 gallons put into the system.
But would it be fair, I mean, as this is a state mandated number, it is one they're going to look at when we go to try and ask for
That's exactly
the
right.
ability to withdraw from the Watauga thing. So the number does impact us.
It does.
As Daniel said, the 18% is the real number with probably system loss leakage, based on
I'm not buying that. I mean, what they're telling us is their calculation is water produced and water sold. The difference between the two numbers is water loss. I mean, you can't get around that. Whether you're making 300,000 gallons or 700,000 gallons a day, if you're only selling 200,000 off the 300,000 or 700,000, your water loss it is an arithmetic calculation. I agree there's a lot of
unaccounted versus actually lost water.
It's unaccounted, but it doesn't matter as long as you have water available to work with.
But I guess just to clarify, that number will come into play when
Absolutely.
we're in front of the Watauga County
We
Commissioners.
can't go in front of them.
Absolutely.
We can't go in front of them
Then with that number. So,
Correct.
and granted, it's a number, we're a unique system. These guys are faced with unique challenges. So unfortunately, that number does matter, but, you know, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I mean, I was just saying, I think it matters a little for supply. If we're going to have to go and get the approval to, you know, and there's another project, you know, the biggest one out there, then that number will matter, you know, so it was understandable if they were excited. And I believe, you know, they are working towards that, and we have the plan that was established by previous councils. I don't think we can get lost in the hysteria of, oh, it was 33, now it's 66. You know, and I don't feel any differently about the quality of the job that they're doing. It was just, you know, an unfortunate error, but we do have to modify that number. I like that we're going to combine the two projects, you know, as long as they go in 2020. I like, you know, that idea of doing the water and sewer in that area. And then as soon as we can afford it, I like moving on to the Greenbrier, the next, you know, critical area that I've identified. I mean, so my guess is politically that number matters.
It does.
It's my point.
I agree, I'm just saying.
That's what I was going to say.
It's just a.
As far as the state's concerned, they want that number, EPA wants that number, EPA wants that number in place.
Yeah.
You've taken it away, yeah.
You told us that.
Very few will make it. You know, where that number bothers us, it's just like you said, it goes that south look side. As far as regulators go, you all have to remember, we applied for 609 approval 5 years ago. We had been approved for 609, which put the Watauga River project, as far as the state of North Carolina is concerned, everybody signed off on it. Now, there's some issues with what's going to be afterwards, as far as the lake goes, releases and stuff. But, you know, as far as what we get from North Carolina, yeah, this doesn't bother.
Right.
That permit, whenever we get the political side going,
It's the Boone Commission.
This will be a local. We'll get,
It's the
they'll
Boone
get
Commission.
local political heat.
Of
That
course.
number will be what's plastered
Because
on
what they say
the
now
Watauga
is-
Democrat.
Right.
The river keepers will be up in arms. You know, we're irresponsible with our water.
How can we do
and
that
all
if
of
we're
that.
losing so much water?
Yeah.
That's what they're going to say. And so it does make I think we all agree that we have to have the water to be able to produce the water, and that the intake is the solution for that. But we just can't go in front of them. Because I was hoping we could go in front of the Boone Commission this year, but we can't go with 66%.
Not with this number.
They'll shout us out worse than they did when you went the last time. It's not good. So we'll just have to wait until you guys can do your thing, and it'll come down some, and we'll just wait and see what happens. In the meantime, we're putting money aside for the water intake and
continually to aggressively work the plan, or my
Right,
hope
and
is,
fix the pipes.
taxpayers, that
Yeah.
any future councils continue to allow you guys to work the plan the way you're working it. You know, I like the larger projects versus the small. I mean, you have my full support.
And one thing, we're also looking at wells too, because we have to try to, before we get back to the top, see what alternatives
Right,
we're looking
right.
at. So they're taking volumes, fixing and exploring.
It would be nice to get lucky there.
Yeah, it would be real nice.
We need a good way.
Does anybody else want to say anything? Stop smiling, Tim. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay. All right, thank you, Daniel. Thank you,
Dan.
Robert, for the explanation. Tim, you're on.
All right, just to, I think everybody had a great day, June 22nd, fire department had their open house. I heard a lot of good things about
That
that.
was good.
Sean and them did a great job with the 4th of July celebration this year, so I think we had some record number of attendees. Also, one thing we are very proud of, which I'm afraid to talk about buildings right now, but the Public Works building renderings are in the hallway out there, if anybody wants to see those.
Pretty.
It looks very good. There's a Shane fundraiser, we're working on one July 31st, so that's coming up. Summer camp goals, I guess we're in the 4th week, is that right, Sean? So we've had a great summer camp so far. We're still on hold a little bit for the streetscape project. Riley's working daily with the contractor to try to see where that's at, so we hope to get that underway very shortly. And Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay. Wendell?
I I want to say I thought the barbecue, the 4th of July barbecue celebration at the resort, I think went very well. They had great turnout, a lot of people there. Fireworks were well received.
Great. Is that it? Widener?
Several things. First of all, the transition of the insurance on July 1st. Everything, did that transition to July 1st?
It has worked fairly smoothly. We did have one hiccup with a wrong route number when the gentleman went right after July 4th, but we resolved that same day, so I'm not aware of any other problems at this time. So, they basically told me to use the same car. They had group 043 instead of group 044, so once we got that straightened out.
So this is something that I'd like to address my comments to the public. This is going to take a couple minutes. I ran for town council in hopes of making a difference in our town. Many of you asked me to solve identified problems, mainly to get Beech Mountain looking better and back on track. Now, with almost 2 years of this position as councilman, I wanted to report to you the difficulties I've experienced trying to represent you, the taxpayers of the town. It became quickly obvious that our town manager was not up to the job of managing the day-to-day activities of our town, let alone the task of forward-thinking and solving the issues that have been addressed. The town began a series off the budget expenditures to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm confident that our books and our numbers do not reconcile and are not correct. Furthermore, why do we have individuals secretly working at night? What is being hidden? Who is paying for this? And approved by whom? I'm sure some in this room are well aware of what is taking place. Some are comfortable in questionable accounting practices, and others are worried by the implications that may be linked to them. My attempts to have a reasonable and timely review of our budget and expenditures has been silenced from the town manager and council majority until it was too late this year to make any changes. At June 11th, 2019 budget adoption meeting, council members stated it was too late this year, but if re-elected, we'll do a better job of the budget next year. I have brought this to the attention of the town manager, the mayor, and the town attorney on several occasions. The improper, unethical, and possibly illegal practice of the town council meeting in closed session to discuss items which are not permitted by state law. Again, I've been ignored, threatened, and even lied to in an attempt to keep this practice alive. I will not be silent or be part of this behavior. I have been told that I am not permitted to discuss with you the specifics of these improper meetings, but you should be concerned. The town's business being discussed and orchestrated behind closed doors. The minutes of these closed session meetings are not correct, meaning improper items have been omitted and on purpose. At the June 11, 2019 meeting, I was given a set closed session minutes last minute by the town clerk. I was told by the clerk that these minutes had just arrived and needed to be reviewed. This is not true. At least one other council member stated he had reviewed the minutes about a week prior to the meeting. I was told by our mayor the minutes were not correct. I told the mayor the minutes were not correct. She stated that she would have them corrected and set on the July agenda. This was not true. On the consent agenda, the minutes and questions were conveniently incorrectly identified as an April meeting. At the very last second, after a motion had been made and the vote to approve was underway, the clerk stopped the vote to announce that the April date was a typo and it actually should be listed as May. One other council member even raised his hand to stop the vote before the clerk looked up from her computer. This was planned in an attempt to conceal the fact that these minutes were incorrect. Don't believe me? Watch the tape and decide for yourself. The minutes were approved. This is just the latest example of the corruption and deceitfulness of the town manager and our council. There are many other issues which have been improperly and possibly illegally handled. You, the voters, should demand accountability and transparency from your town manager and officials. What is going on cannot continue. What is going on in Beech Mountain? Thank you.
Barry?
Well, after that little ceremony, as far as I'm concerned, the town manager has my 100% support. I don't feel that anything we do is improper. Our attorney is always there in our closed session meetings, and he is the first to bring up if anything is done improper, and we usually make the correction if there is. Could there be typing errors? It happens, and I'm sure we get them corrected. But, you know, every person has his own opinion, and as far as I'm concerned, Tim has my 100% support. I feel that talking to citizens of the town, a lot of them have his support, and I know the employees, majority of the employees have his support. And I'm almost pretty sure that the majority of this council has his support. So again, you can make allegations all you want. Unless you can prove these allegations, I would much prefer that you don't make them, because hearsay doesn't mean anything.
I stand behind my
And
comments.
that's all I have to say.
Carl?
I have notes that I wanted to comment. I'll briefly comment on that. I think it's fairly irresponsible to make some of those accusations. You are certainly entitled to your opinion, but I have not slept through a single one of these meetings, and I have a different recall of them. All of the minutes are open for review, and at any time you would care to do so, I'd be happy to. To go back to what I'd actually like to talk about, first I'd like to echo Michael Holland's sentiment as one of the ones who've been around here. I did escape for a while to the real world, but I like to consider myself a lifelong resident. I find the traditional sign to be a part of what makes, Beech Mountain, Beech Mountain. This was something I was unaware of other than seeing them. And apologies, my assumption was, that's a temporary sign while we're repairing the other. I did not realize we were considering changing, and I would not be in support. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to our signs. On Wilson's comments about the speed limit, I wear several hats, and one of them puts me in a position of daily contact with both residents and, non-resident property owners on a fairly regular basis. And I've been doing my own polling on this, and most folks feel that the speed limit is correct if we were following it. To my mind, instead of lowering, Clubhouse is an exception for safety. Same as when we did it upon Lake Ledge before that section of the club and what we're doing at Oz. To change it overall, what good is the sign going to do if folks are still going to drive the way they do? What's going to slow you down is if the chief and his men start writing tickets. So enforcing the laws we have as opposed to creating another ones, to my mind, barring specific situations on the gravel road, is the right answer there. Terese, to your point, I'm terrified of the skylanterns. It's a state law. I think it's up to us to inform the public, but how do you enforce that? Which goes to receive several comments that we as a town shut down the brick oven firework display. This is a state law. This was not us as a town deciding we want to punish Jimmy. We don't want the folks to have a good time. There are specific laws about pyrotechnic shows of that size. I've also, heard that I'm anti-Oz, and not as the representative. That's a personal opinion. Because I feel, when they're questioned about it, this is going to ultimately be a negative for Beech Mountain. The negative experience of the folks, because we can't let people know Beech Mountain is not Oz. That is a private entity by a private property owner, profiteering. So those that question the statements I make there, that's mine. As a resident, as a citizen, that does not affect how I vote or look at it. That's just someone who went through the park over 100 times as a child. If anyone's got fond memories of Oz, it's going to be me. I support public works, as we echoed in that discussion, and you know, to wrap it up, I just couldn't disagree more with Widener's assessment of the way that this town and this council and these employees, I just believe those are irresponsible accusations. And thank you for your time. And as always, thank you for being here and participating. And, you know, phone's always on, door's always open.
Thanks, Carl. You okay? Okay, I'm going to go over just a couple things. I'm not sure if this means anything to anybody, but if you're a caregiver to somebody, or you know somebody who's a caregiver on the mountain, there's an organization, it's the High Country Area of Agency on Aging, and they provide services for caregivers. They do respite services where they'll give you a break from taking care of somebody. They have support groups, they case management, in-home assessments, educational programs. If you know anybody, you can contact me. I'll give you a person's name and number. You know, being a caregiver is a really tough thing to somebody, and you know, sometimes they just need a break to get away. So it's out there if somebody wants, and I'd be more than happy to, you know, give you information on that. What I'd like to address is rumors on Beech Mountain, and that's the way rumors start, with Widener said. And before you know it, people are going to be talking on this mountain about all these terrible things about Tim, about me personally, and the council. And it's irresponsible to talk about stuff. You have a right to believe that, and you have a right to say that maybe to your close personal friends, but to say that in an open meeting is irresponsible because it's not true. Now, if you want to believe it, that's also your right to believe it, but it's not true. And there is one rumor out there, and I don't know how it got started, but somebody told me about it, that Carl and I said in a meeting that cycling and the resort have nothing to do with visitors and home buyers. Now, that's a ridiculous statement, and it's a ridiculous rumor. I would never say that, because the resort brings visitors, and our visitors do buy homes because they like it up here. So these type of rumors are damaging to a person's, just to their reputation. I've lived up here for almost 20 years, and you know, I've worked hard on this mountain, and I've tried to do a good job in the council. And when people start rumors like that, you know, I don't know why they do it. I just don't. And I guess all I'm saying is, if you hear something from somebody that says, and it makes you think, are you kidding me? Did that really happen? You should question that stuff, because it's a horrible thing to do, to start rumors. And it's a horrible thing to proliferate a rumor. And I would appreciate it, just like this person came to me and asked if something you've heard is true. And I'm sure this stuff is going to go out all over the place. And I hope people are responsible enough to at least question what they've heard. It's just terrible. It's just terrible to say things like that in an open meeting and have it not be true. But that's all I got. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
We have citizen comments.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Do we have citizen comments on the agenda items? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
I guess election season.
Another thing is, so dirty, no release, and white is like.
But you know, it's going to require a pay.